Ms. Jackson Lee for 5 minutes.
I thank you very much. Mr. General, do you believe in this book, the Constitution of the United States?
Yes.
And will abide by it with all of your intentions?
That's exactly correct.
I thank you so very much. I took the liberty of reviewing federal crimes against children, particularly those dealing with sexual or physical abuse. As you well know, Lee Kaufman, Wendy Miller, Debbie Watson Gibson, Gloria Thacker Deason, and Beverly Young Nelson, these young women have accused this individual, Judge Moore, who is running for a federal office, the United States Senate, of child sexual activity. Do you believe these young women?
I have no reason to doubt these young women.
And with that in mind, if you believe these young women, do you believe Judge Moore should be seated in the Senate if he wins, and would you introduce investigations by the DOJ regarding his actions?
We will evaluate every case as to whether or not it should be investigated. This kind of case would normally be a state case. I would say, Representative Jackson Lee, that the ethics people at the Department of Justice, and I've talked to them about that when this campaign started. It's the seat I used to hold. They advised me that the Attorney General should not be involved in this campaign. I have friends in the campaign.
Thank you, Mr. General.
I have steadfastly adhered to
I want to make sure that if he comes to the United States Senate,
and I think I should continue to do so.
If he comes to the United States Senate, that there would be the possibility of referring his case for at least a federal review by the Department of Justice.
We will do our duty.
Let me also refer you back to the meeting on March 31st, 2016 with Mr. Papadopoulos. You well know that Mr. Papadopoulos, in addition to his comments in the meeting regarding a meeting between Trump and Mr. Putin, had series of meetings dealing with, and as you can see, Trump, Mr. Papadopoulos, and you leading that committee. I cannot imagine your memory would fail you so much. But moving on, he was in that meeting, but you also had Stephen Miller, who is a senior policy advisor, who was noted in the stipulated statement of offense to receive conversations from Mr. Papadopoulos about his constant interaction with the Russians to intrude in the 2016 election. You continued in the October 18th meeting before the Judiciary Committee or hearing in the Senate to not answer the question. Now, in light of the facts that are now part of the record, do you wish to change your testimony before the Senate Intelligence Committee on June 13, 2017, where you said, I have never met with or had any conversation with any Russians or any foreign officials? Let me jump to the final part.
Well, I
have no knowledge of any such conversations by anyone connected to the Trump campaign. Do you want to admit under oath that you did not tell the truth or misrepresented, or do you want to correct your testimony right now?
You're referring to my testimony at confirmation?
Before the Senate Intelligence Committee, my time is short, and I have 2 more questions, please.
Well, I'm not able to respond because I don't think I understand what you were saying.
I'm asking your Intelligence Committee testimony. Do you want to change it where you indicated you had no knowledge of involvement of the Trump individuals involved in conversations regarding the Trump campaign Russians? And Mr. Miller supported Mr. Trump's press conference where he said, Russia, if you're listening, I hope you'll be able to find the 30,000 emails. Do you want to change your testimony that was where you said, I have no knowledge of any such conversations by anyone connected to the Trump campaign regarding Russians involved in the campaign? That was a testimony on June 13.
I'm not able to understand.
All right, let me move forward to the
Let me say this, Mr. Chairman. Could I?
The black identity, let me move to a document that you have prepared. The gentleman keeps saying he cannot recall, so I'm reclaiming my time.
The gentleman will suspend. The witness wants to answer the question she asked.
And I should be given extra time, and I do not have extra time. Let me move to the black identity.
The gentleman will suspend.
I will suspend.
The witness will answer the question.
Yes or no? Does he want to change his testimony in the Intelligence Committee?
I would just say this. I stand by this testimony at the Intelligence Committee. I have never met with or had any conversation with any Russians or any foreign officials concerning any type of interference with the campaign or election in the United States. Further, I have no knowledge of any such conversations by anyone connected to the Trump campaign.
Thank you very much for that.
What I did say in my opening statement, I explained that when I was asked in October, just a few weeks ago, when I was asked about the matter, did I have any knowledge of anyone who had talked to the Russians, I indicated that I had not recalled that meeting when that occurred. But I would have been pleased to have responded and explained it if I'd recalled it. I've tried to be honest about that and give you my best response and did throughout all the testimony I've given. Ms. Lee.
You stand by your testimony. Thank you very much. Are you familiar with the names Eric Garner, Walter Scott, Tamir Rice? My question is, as I hold up the poster dealing with the report under your jurisdiction, Black Identity Extremists, it is interesting to me that you are opposing individuals who are opposing lethal force, similar to the attack on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King on COINTELPRO, but there seems to be no report dealing with the Tiki Torch Parade in Charlottesville chanting, "Jews will not replace us." Why is there an attack on black activists versus any reports dealing with the alt-right and the white nationalists? Can you answer that question quickly?
I'm not aware.
Are you planning on investigating that?
When was that report completed?
In August of 2017.
I'm not aware of, I have not studied that report.
I ask you to because it's an attack on individuals who are simply trying to petition the government in a redress of grievances. Let me move to criminal justice reform. We have found that mandatory minimums and over-incarceration has been the history of criminal justice. We were moving toward criminal justice reform, which you opposed as the United States Senator, and now you intend to return toward discredited Nixon-era law and order criminal justice policies going to make America great or waste precious taxpayer dollars. Do you have any interest in rehabilitating those incarcerated, recognizing that mandatory minimums created the opportunity for over-incarceration rather than telling your prosecutors to prosecute on every single crime? Is there any opportunity to work with your office to deal with progressive ways of dealing with criminal justice reform at this time? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right.
I would just respond and say that Senator Durbin and I worked together to reduce the crack cocaine penalties some years ago. It probably remains the largest
you pull back
single.
on
The time of the gentlewoman has expired. The witness is allowed to answer the last question.
Minimums.
I'm sorry.
Time of the gentlewoman has expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Issa, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Sessions, it's good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
I don't speak Russian, and I don't meet with Russians, and I don't really want to ask about those questions today, but I do have some very important questions.
Well, Congressman Issa, you said that, but I bet you have met with some Russian, and if you, in your lifetime, and taking those words at face value, somebody might accuse you of not being honest.
You're absolutely.
That's what they've done to me.
You're absolutely right, General Sessions, that that is the challenge, is that as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I meet with lots of ambassadors, and I don't want to try to remember everyone and everything that was discussed in what I thought was a pro forma meeting.